All right, y'all, I wanted to do a little video here talking about the Beretta M9/92 series of pistols, but specifically related to my experience in the service with them, and also some of the things that I've heard some other service members talk about their experiences and kind of, I guess, more complaints about the M9 system, and kind of how I think a little bit how a lot of these claims and feelings and things are kind of drawn from ignorance, shall we say, but not necessarily in a bad way, not every time. But in some cases, yes, some of the claims we'll go over are absolutely from ignorance, and willful ignorance at that. So there's nothing worse than somebody who chooses not to learn about something. Someone can be forgiven for not knowing any better because personally, I don't expect everyone else to have the same level of experience and knowledge that I have handling firearms. That just wouldn't be a fair expectation, even of other military members. But when you offer your knowledge and experience and you offer to train somebody and say, hey, maybe this is how things actually are, would you like to learn? And they still say no, that's where I start to have a problem with people when they actively choose not to learn. Or they somehow think they know better when really they don't. And it's demonstrably true. What I'm saying is correct and their opinion is not. So I don't make it a big effort or put a lot of energy into me just going around saying, you're wrong, and I'm right and I know everything. I don't do that. But when people are just blatantly wrong about something, especially when it concerns job performance or self-defense, when we might actually need to use our pistols for their intended purpose, that's when I start to have issues, and I need to kind of make things a little bit more clear to people who have the wrong opinions about things. So I know there's a lot of still to this day debate about personal protection and self-defense and how people should carry their guns, whether or not you should or should not shoot, different kinds of ammo, all that stuff. It's not really the focus of this. It's just more I want to cover the M9 series of pistols. So I have two examples here. I have a 92X compact, which I'll probably be using most kind of to demonstrate things in this video because it's the closest I have to the service weapon analogy M9s. But I also have this used to be a 96 A1, but I've since put a 9mm barrel on it and put a nice cool Parker Mountain Machine comp on here. Freaking awesome, it works great. But this is not exactly what you would call close to the service weapon, M9 style. It is a full-size frame, of course, but I've kind of gussied it up a bit, and it's a little bit more of a race gun now. So I'll use the 92X compact to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about here. So there are a few things I've heard and seen during my time in the service, and I've been in almost 8 years now. These have all been cleared and checked. I've been in almost 8 years now, and I've qualified expert on M9, I don't know how many times now, I've lost count. I don't really keep count anymore. So in that official capacity, I know what I'm talking about, and I use air quotes there because M9 qualification for these pistols is a bit of a joke, to be honest. Anybody who's halfway decent shot can qualify expert on these, so I don't like to use that as a good metric of proficiency or expertise on the matter because it's really quite easy to do. So I've literally had qualifications where the RSO, the range master there, this guy's a CADM guy. That's his job, is to know guns. And he actually marked me down on points as misses because all of my rounds were in the same little ragged hole there. And he said, no, it looks like you missed a few. And I said, no, hang on. Most of my rounds went through the same hole. And he's like, yeah, no, that's not possible. And nobody shoots that good. I'm like, I do, buddy. And I'll prove it to you again if you want. And so the other RSOs came and looked in the target and like, oh yeah. I mean, normally we never see people shoot that good, but yeah, I think you got it all in the same hole. I'm like, good, because I did. So anyway, case in point, just because someone is, one, in the military, two, is a CADM range officer even, does not necessarily mean that they are gun people and that they know what they're talking about and that they are experienced and kind of are a good authoritative source to draw from, which is kind of ironic because I am a service member, but I've been shooting guns since long before I got in the military, so I actually do kind of know a little bit, somewhat, of what I know what I'm talking about, just enough to be dangerous, right? So seeing that, there were a few times of these M9 qualification courses where you go through the disassembly process, and when I was looking at some of these pistols, I said, hey guys, you need to do some maintenance on these things because these parts are going to break. And they said, well, yeah, how do you know that? Like, I own 2 of these pistols here. Okay, I've gone through plenty of them. I know what the wear patterns are. I know what to look for in these guns. I've read the freaking armorer's manual. You know, I know what I'm talking about here. And okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, what do you know? You're just a flyer. You're just a fly boy. You don't know anything about guns. Okay, whatever. So we go out there on the firing line, and sure enough, 3 pistols break pretty much exactly where I told them they were going to. One had a safety trigger problem. The whole thing got locked up pretty bad, and 2 of them broke the little wings on the barrel assembly where it locks up into place. Those wings tend to shear after a few 10,000, 15,000 something rounds. Those are common breakage points for a 92 series pistol. So I told them that was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. So whatever. Anyway, so a lot of the complaints that I get from or hearing from service members are a few things, but most notably is the size of the pistol. So a lot of people claim, and when I say people, I mean service members in particular, say that the grip is too big, the gun is too big, it doesn't fit their hand very well. You know, the frame sizes here for the compactor are pretty much the same except for the length of the grip here, but they say it's too big for them. It's hard to reach the trigger. It's hard to do a double action pull, or it's hard to manipulate the controls because the frame's too big. Now, this is a half in, half out kind of valid argument because not everyone is 6 foot like me. Sometimes you get smaller statured shooters, you get female shooters, right? Obviously they're going to have much smaller hands than me, and okay, that's perfectly reasonable. You know, not everyone is going to have big honking mitts like me and can handle a full-size pistol like this the same way that I do. Totally get it. That's, 100% valid. What I don't get is from dudes who are bigger than me who say this frame is also too big. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Particular gentleman I served with, I think he's like 6'2 or 6'3 or something like that, tall guy. He's got bigger hands than me, longer fingers than me, and he says that this gun does not fit his hand and that it's too big and that it's hard to reach the trigger. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're doing wrong, because I did actually try to educate him a few times, like, hey, this is how you actually hold the gun, because I know the class didn't teach you anything. But he still claimed that it was an uncomfortable grip and it didn't fit him very well, which I don't understand. I do not. I feel like that is more of a user issue rather than the gun itself. So, grip size, most people tend to say that it's a little bit too big. I personally think it's one of the most comfortable and ergonomic pistols, full-size pistols, that you can get. I've always loved the way the 92 series has fit in my hand. Always. So, grip size. Next up is the slide-mounted safety. Now, I know this is a very, very, very controversial thing, even with non-service members, just like everyone else who owns these pistols. The slide-mounted safety always hangs people up, and personally, I don't understand that either. I really don't get it. So there's a lot of arguments against it, saying that, well, it's in a bad spot, or when I'm racking it, it's going to engage accidentally, or it doesn't give me enough space to rack the slide, or it doesn't need to be on there, or they prefer a frame-mounted safety. Whatever the reason is, there's a myriad reasons why people do not like a frame-mounted or a slide-mounted safety. None of which I understand, because not once in my entire time operating these pistols have I ever accidentally engaged the safety while racking the slide on these pistols, ever. So, I think there's plenty of room, plenty of purchase on these slides to rack them for whatever you need to do, basic function of the pistol, shooting, operating it, clearing malfunctions, whatever. I've never had an issue with that. So that argument I do not get. Never engaged the safety. I have plenty of space to rack. People say they can't reach it very easily. that might have some more merit, because that also goes back to the grip size argument, because if you don't have super long fingers or a long thumb, yeah, it's going to be a little harder to manipulate. That I get. But in general, we're still talking dudes who are around my size, who have similar sized hands and fingers, who still complain that they cannot reach the safety and engage it, disengage it properly, quickly, or in a timely fashion, which I also still do not understand. Because if we see right here, this is my normal grip here for the pistol, right? And if you reach up right there, wow, look at that. My thumb is right there on the safety. Makes it very easy for me to decock and then push it back up. Now it's ready to go in double action mode. Super, super easy. So I do not understand that aspect. I really feel like that's more of a training thing and just people not being used to manual of arms for this kind of gun. The other point about the slide mounted safety is that people complain that when you decock and you put the safety on, it stays in the safe position. Now, when you pull the trigger, hammer doesn't move, nothing moves, it's trigger's disabled, right? I've had so many people complain about that. Something which I also don't understand. Now, is there really a reason for you to have it on safe like this if it's already decocked? No, not really. I can't ever think of a reason why you'd want to do that, to be honest, because the way I carry it and the way that we are trained to carry it, at least the way you should be carrying it, is slides back like this, right? And you're arming up. I got a snap cap here, right? There you go. See? Snap cap. So you're arming up, right? You get handed your pistol like this in the open configuration, right? Safety should be on for arming purposes. I don't personally think that's necessary, but that's how they do it. That's the Air Force procedure. Okay, take your magazines, got the round in it, go up to the clearing barrel, put that thing in there, load the mag up, and then you have your round right there. Send the slide forward. Now it's decocked and you have one in the chamber. Okay, now what I do is I always put that back on fire. Always put it in my holster, good to go, right? There are so many people, service members, okay, who do not do this. They do not carry with one in the chamber. They prefer not to have one in there for whatever misguided reason, which I don't agree with. And they also leave the safety on, which they also say, oh, that's bad. I hate that feature. Well, why don't you just, I don't know, put it back on? It's simple. It's literally as simple as that. If it's off, just put it on. And some people say, well, I forget to do that. Well, that's not really the gun's fault, is it? It's yours. And also a training ism, your muscle memory, your training and everything should tell you to put that right back on fire. Simple. So people who say that it's an unnecessary feature, yeah, okay, maybe I can see some merit to that when you have one in the chamber and get the safety on, or it's decocked already with nothing in the chamber, safety on, and there's not really a whole lot of reasons or situations I can imagine where you want to keep the safety on the whole time, even after decock. So I can kind of see that, but in general, you should be carrying, at least in a service capacity or a duty role, or if you're going to use this as a defensive sidearm, you absolutely should carry one in the chamber, safety off, double action. So that is the way that we are supposed to be carrying it. That's the way I believe people should be carrying it, but some service members are very skittish about that for a number of reasons, most of which I will chalk up to inappropriate training, inadequate training, not having trust and faith in their equipment. I see this a lot, not just with guns, but other equipment as well. Not having faith in their equipment and just not being drilled into their head that this is a perfectly safe and acceptable condition to carry this firearm in with a round in the chamber. So I'll give you an example. This is not to rag anybody in particular, okay, but there are just some things, like I said in the beginning, where people are choosing to be ignorant about things that kind of upset me. So a particular individual of my crew never carried one in the chamber. He said the M9 was the worst piece of crap pistol he's ever had the displeasure of carrying. He hates it. It's the most unsafe gun. His CZ75 is way, way better. He'd rather carry that than this hunk of junk, and I can't believe we were ever issued these, and why did the U.S. government waste money, so on and so forth, right? He's got all these excuses, all these things to say about how this M9 is the worst gun ever. And I said, well, that's interesting, sir. Why do you think that? And he said, oh, well, one of the big reasons is, you got the safety on here. Now, he doesn't have one in the chamber, right? And he's like, well, the safety is on here, and you can pull the trigger. Oh, my God, how unsafe is that? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, is he joking with me or is he being serious? No, he was being 100% serious. So I said, okay, sir, if you would like, this is a captain I'm talking to, right? I said, if you would like, sir, I can go through and list every single safety feature of this pistol to you by memory right now. If you would like, if it would make you feel more confident in your sidearm to carry one in the chamber as we're supposed to, safety off, double action mode. Would you like me to educate you, sir? Is it no? I don't. You don't need to tell me that. I already know this gun is bad. You don't need to tell me anything. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I'm like, okay, this is how this is going to be. Okay, all right, fine. Okay, sir, you can do what you like. That's totally cool. Fine, 100% cool. Got it. Never bothered to try to educate him ever again. No, this is just, like I said, when people are willfully ignorant like that, choose not to learn, that kind of makes me mad. So he will probably carry on the rest of his life saying that the Beretta 92 M9 pistol is the worst pistol on earth, and he's going to be that old guy at the gun store who has his silly little, whatever veteran hat on. He's going to say, yeah, when I served, the M9 was the worst pistol I ever had. Total garbage. You don't want that. He's going to be one of those guys. We've all seen the type. We've all seen the boomer guy come in there and say, 1911, the best service pistol ever. You don't need those 9mm. Yeah, we've all seen those types. He's going to be that guy. Guarantee you, one day. So, just one example of the absolute ludicrous nature, I think, of some of the just simply inadequate training that even our own service members get, even in a deployed environment where we actually need these things. Okay, I'm still hearing comments like that, and it just blows my mind. Another particular individual on my crew did not appreciate the way that I carried my M9. He said, well, Sergeant Siegel, I've done some research, and I believe that the way you carry your sidearm there is more of a danger to the crew than us ever having any chance of getting shot by the enemy or engaging the enemy. So I would really like it, and I'm telling you that you should not carry your M9 with one in the chamber and safety off. I don't think you should do that. So if you could not do that, that would be much appreciated. And I'm sitting there, and like I said, I'm just completely blown away. It's funny how they're both captains that are saying this, but it's a different point. Anyway, I said, respectfully, sir, you're not going to dictate to me how I carry my own sidearm. You choose your own way and how you're going to carry your own sidearm for whatever you feel appropriate for you. But for me, that's not how I carry my sidearm. That's not how I carry any of my sidearms. They always have one in the chamber. The safety is always off. Unless it's like a single action, like a 1911, then I had safety on, of course. But for a DASA pistol service weapon like this, it's always one in the chamber, safety off, double action mode, always. So I said, yeah, respectfully, you will not dictate to me how I carry my sidearm for my personal protection. Now, if we do get into a firefight and we do have to use these, if you would like to hand me your sidearm, so I can actually use it, or hand me your magazine so I have more ammunition to actually fight the enemy with while you're busy figuring out how to take your safety off and how to get around in the chamber, then please feel free to find me during the firefight, and please hand me your weapon and your magazines, and I will make do with what I have. Please stay out of my way. He didn't really appreciate that, and I also started saying things like, well, I don't think I'm going to have a negligent discharge ever, because I am a professional and we are in the profession of arms. We are all trained and certified as passing our M9 qualifications, so we are all, technically speaking, qualified to carry these pistols in the condition that you were trained in to carry them. I'm not wrong on this, because otherwise you would not be out here if you did not pass your M9 qualification, correct? Cool. So I also quoted General Mattis, and he said, General Mattis had a very interesting quote. He said, be professional, be polite, and have a plan to kill everyone you meet, right? So I have a plan to kill everyone I meet, of course, because that's what the general says that we should do, okay? You just simply haven't given me a reason yet to do that, sir. So trust me, if I was going to engage you with this pistol, it would not be by accident, and you would be very aware of the results. Trust me, there would be no accidents. There are no accidents with me because I am a professional, and so are you, right? He really did not like that response. He really, really did not like that. His eyes got super wide, and he's just sitting there like, "Oh my God!" And you could see the cogs were turning in his head. And he's trying to figure out if I was threatening him or not. And I'm just sitting there with a big smile on my face. And I'm like, "Oh, that was a good conversation." So, needless to say, these are the kinds of comments that I receive from people that are just, our own service members. You think people in the military would know better, but honestly, they really don't. So, which, like I said, is also ironic because I am in the military, but I think you get what I'm saying. So, those are some of the biggest things that I have heard from service members about why the M9 pistol is the worst thing ever. That I've heard myself, just relatively recently speaking. So, just because there is so much derision, I guess, derision isn't even a word. People deride this pistol, okay? A lot of service members do, and there's really not a reason to do that. Like I said, I think a lot of it stems from inexperience, ignorance, willful ignorance in some cases, about how firearms in general work, but also the M9 itself. So most of this I don't agree with, and my entire service time with these pistols, I've never had any negligent discharges. I've never had any issues that anybody else was talking about. Never had any issues at all. Now, granted, like I said, I don't expect everyone to have the same level of experience that I do. I bought this 96 A1 way before I even got in the service. So I told myself, well, I want something close to our service sidearm so I can practice with it when I do go in the service, right? I mean, that's why I'm expert so many times. I don't know. But I don't even know where I was going with that. But a lot of these complaints, honestly, are still going to carry over even into the new one, right? The freaking M18s, M17s, right? The newfangled hotness that we adopted. This is just regular P320, but the point stands. Service members are going to say the same thing about the new gun too. They're going to whine and complain about it. They're going to say this is the worst thing on earth, and why do we ever switch from the M9? The M9 is so much better. The cycle continues. Okay, this is how it's going to happen with pretty much every service sidearm that we have. They're always going to say it's crap. They're always going to say it's the worst thing ever, and the new hotness is better, for a little bit, and then they're going to say the same thing about so on and so forth. It's just going to keep going. So I honestly do believe, though, impartially here as I can be, honestly, the M9 is a fine service weapon. I really do think that. For a lot of military members, the sidearms and the rifles and other things that they qualify with and get issued are oftentimes the first experience they have ever with firearms. Now, I know it's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. So, if you're a young person and you get handed a military issue weapon and it's old, it's beat to crap, it's not maintained properly, of course you're going to think it's terrible because that's all you've experienced, that's all you know. So when you get a lot of these military types who say, this X weapon is garbage, the X weapon is shit for this reason, okay? A lot of them speak to it only that way because that's the only thing they know. They've never seen a nice, new, minty condition pistol like this. They've never shot it. They don't bother to. They don't bother to learn. Some of them don't even want to learn, okay, because they think they know better. So it's very easy, understandable to see from that angle. And I don't necessarily blame too many service members for that. But understand that that's where that angle comes from. So I really do believe a lot of the criticisms toward the M9 are unwarranted, unfounded, caused by ignorance. And for those who have willful ignorance, I have no patience for that. And frankly, I don't really care what their opinion is because it's just flat out wrong and they don't care to learn. So I have heard from older people, not current service members, but older guys, the Vietnam era crowd, or even sometimes even older than that, who say, the M9 is also garbage because it shoots 9mm. It's not shooting 45, which is of course the Lord's caliber, right? I've actually heard comments, even while I was deployed, by civilian contractor, old dudes, right, who are making fun of the P320 pistols and the M9s. They're saying, yeah, you know why those guns have so much capacity in the magazine? Yeah, because the 9mm is so weak, they got to shoot the guy 3 or 4 times before he goes down. But I tell you what, my time on the service, I got that 45, 1911, I shoot him once and he stays down, yeah. And they're all patting each other on the back saying, yeah, you tell him, Bob, fuck yeah, 45, yeah, Lord's caliber, yes, sir. and are just, I know this. It's so bad when the stereotypes just so easily present themselves like that. It's just, what can you do but laugh, right? What can you do but laugh? I don't even get angry over that stuff anymore because I also own plenty of 45s. And if I had my choice on my deployment, I would have carried my H&K USP 45 tactical. Okay? That thing is just, I understand, yes, it's 45. Okay, it's not 9mm. It's not the accepted caliber. Okay, but still, for the purposes that I would use a pistol for in a deployment situation, I think that gun would be just fine. But then again, so was my M9, even though it was a rattly, worn, beat up piece of crap that has not seen the light of day since my unit pulled out of Afghanistan. So, and just, oh man, it just, our weapons were not taken care of. They needed some TLC bad. So, even with that, yeah. The whole point of this is to say that, objectively speaking, the M9 is a great service weapon. There's a reason why we've had it for so long. Objectively, even outside of military service, these are excellent pistols. I love every 92 series pistol that I've ever owned, shot, operated. They all work fantastic. They all work great. They look fantastic. They feel excellent in my hands. The ergonomics are great. I don't have any of the issues that anybody has when it comes to that freaking slide mounted safety. Okay, it's no problem for me, and it shouldn't be for you either. Okay, don't buy into this tactical nonsense where they say you have to upgrade to the G style decocking lever. No, you don't have to do that. If you'd like to, that's your prerogative. But for me, I don't think it's necessary when literally all it takes is for you to remember just to put it back on. It's literally as simple as that. You see me doing it right here. Super easy. Okay. Also, to say that outside of the M9, service members oftentimes have a very skewed and slanted view of service weapons and how that translates into nice new minty commercial models like this. So don't necessarily take their word for it. Like I said, if you come across the gun store stereotype of you have either a current active duty vet or some old guy telling you, oh yeah, X weapon is a piece of shit because I had one in the service and it was terrible. Take that with a very, very small grain of salt because, as everyone knows, military issue equipment is taken care of like shit. Never gets the TLC that it ultimately deserves. So, and for, like I said, for a lot of service members, especially these days, okay, their military issue weapons, their service grade weapons are the only guns that they've ever had experience to. So of course their experience is going to be a little cloudy and off, shall we say. So I really do believe, though, all of those complaints will transfer over to the new ones. I already don't have a whole lot of faith in 320s due to SIG's practices in QC, shall we say. For instance, when I was doing a base wide shooting competition with the new pistols, we had a couple of M18s there, which I'm not qualified in because I don't rate to shoot M18s yet. Go figure. All right. The back slide plates here for optics were already sliding off the slides, because I had an RSO there, also a Cadam guy, right, range master. He's like, oh, I hate this pistol because the sights are off and blah blah blah, shoots like shit. And I'm like, well, let me see your gun. He's like, yeah, okay. And he shows me the gun, and literally the back slide plate here was just almost off the gun. And I'm like, dude, how have you not noticed this? Like, your rear sights are attached to that plate. If your plate is off, it's not going to work. And I said, do you even know what that plate is for? He's like, no, what's that plate for? And I said, that plate is for you to remove so you can put a red dot optic on it. And he was like, what? You can do that? And I'm sitting here like, how are you carrying this gun as part of your job and you don't even know what the gun is capable of? Like, it's just, oh. And how do I, as a non-Cadam guy, it's not even my job to know, knows that and you don't? Like I said, I'm just a flyer, okay? I'm a fly boy. I fly on C-130s. I don't know nothing about guns, right? Okay? So give me 1 second here. Okay. It's the same things are going to be said about this pistol, and I think maybe a tiny bit more deserved with these ones because they literally are brand new, okay? And people will complain, it's plastic frame or it's not a Glock. It's not a Glock. it's made by SIG or whatever the reasons are. People are going to complain about everything. Some of them are founded, some of them are not. Like I said, some things that are founded are like, yeah, the grip size for the M9, yeah, it can be a little big for smaller people or people with stubbier fingers, shorter fingers. Okay, I get that. That's totally valid. But the other things about calling it an unsafe pistol, calling it crap, saying that, I'm going to suffer a negligent discharge because this gun is so easy to do that with, or whatever their thing is, or saying it's inaccurate or it's not reliable or whatever, it's just plain not true. So I figured that needed to be said because I don't think it gets said often enough, especially from currently serving service members talking about their issue weapons. Most people don't talk about that. Usually people wait until after they're out of the service or are not involved with the service anymore to kind of deride their weapons and say how bad they were. When in reality, they're actually not. It's just they're military guns. What more do you want? They've been serving in that arsenal since the 90s, and maybe even earlier than that. Because I believe we adopted them in 1985 for the M9s. So I just know my particular unit, those pistols were issued in the mid to late 90s. I could tell by the configuration of the pistol. Basically, there were a few changes they made. You guys can look up the changes yourself later. But yeah, so that needed to be said, I think, because there's just so many examples of just ignorance and inexperience from the military side. Because people assume, oh, they're military members, they have to know a lot about firearms. They have to know, be qualified with their sidearm, and that's just not the case. Like I said, every single member of my crew out there was past their qualification for the M9 pistol. Some even got marksman or expert level, right? And they still think this pistol is garbage. They still think it's unsafe. They still don't carry with one in the chamber. They still carry it with the safety on the entire time. They still have all these misgivings and just blatant distrust in their sidearm to not do what it needs to do. And frankly, that's just poor training in my personal opinion. So anyway, enough complaining about that. I really like the M9. There's a reason why I own two of them, or should I say 92 series pistols. I really like these guns. Heck, I mean, I freaking race gunned out this one because it's such a pleasure to shoot. And I can also practice with it during my off time because, yes, we are still using these, and yes, they are still issued out. Not everything has been replaced by the latest plastic fantastic SIG. I mean, heck, I'm air crew, and my unit still doesn't rate for the new SIG pistols, so that should tell you something about availability. And also the fact that we're still sticking with the older M9s should tell you that somebody somewhere still has confidence in this equipment to get the job done. So just because a newfangled thing has come out does not mean the old stuff is obsolete and just doesn't work anymore. Of course it still works. And in some cases, I might actually prefer the M9 over the SIG. Well, in most cases I would, to be honest. But, that's neither here nor there. It just goes to show you that the reality of the situation is often much different from what we expect it to be. In a lot of cases, just because someone's in the military does not mean at all that they are an expert on their issued weapons. Absolutely does not mean that. So I hope some people get some insight and some perspective into the M9 service pistols, okay, and get some actual real-life, real-world experience from an active duty service member like myself, kind of giving you a better take on things and how things actually are versus, like I said, the stereotype you hear at the gun store, where some old guy or even, recently out of the military guy just says, yeah, it's a piece of crap, you don't want it. Don't listen to him. So M9's perfectly fine. 92 series are perfectly fine. Beretta has made an excellent handgun for many years, and they will continue to do so. That's been my experience so far. So even with the brand new, 92X lines of pistols, love it to death. And I actually plan to do a video on the on this one here coming up pretty soon. So. Yeah, good pistols. If you're looking to get one, buy with confidence, have absolutely no worry about it at all. It will work for you. I'm like 99.99% sure that it will be just fine for you. Worked enough for the U.S. military for all those decades, all this time, and we're still using it to this day. It'll probably be good enough for whatever you want it to do for you. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. And hope you guys learned something, and we'll see you next time.